Well, we're here with Jeremy Griffith. Did I say it right? Griffith?
Griffith, yes.
Griffith, all right. And you may know Jeremy's work. You may know Jeremy. If you don't, you're going to know him today.
Yes.
But Jeremy has worked on a lot of records. What are some highlights for you?
Gosh, it changed through the years. I mean, right now I've done, Underoath, Anberlin. I just did a new record for this band Code 7, which you guys know about.
Yeah.
I've worked with this artist called Johnny Swim. I did 5 records for them. This band Old Sea Brigade that I'm going to Sweden for. I mean, there's a ton of stuff, and the genres have changed over the years. So,
sorry. Oh, sorry. No, don't focus on me. Like none of that's gonna show. Hopefully.
Oh, I don't know how this works. I'm just
edit this out. Like,
no, I was just saying there's a lot of stuff, and
yeah,
you kind of just ebb and flow with your career, with where it takes you, and you try to steer it, but it's kind of hard.
No, absolutely, yeah. But how do you balance all of that, like the creativity and the flow and all that stuff with your life? Like,
you mean
like
the genre
how do you
thing,
balance being creative and being productive at the same time, I guess?
Ooh, well, that's a really hard one because you use up all your juice for your client usually. But something I've learned through the years, because I love to play instruments and crap, I love all that stuff. I give myself an hour in the morning and I give myself an hour at night. That's just time for me to come in and just do whatever. It doesn't have to be anything, and I always record it. And I have like templates set up, like for the modular system back here. I have this multi-track template set up that records all the MIDI I do from every sequence, and it records the audio. And I'll go back to those things years later and be like, oh, that's pretty sick. Let me work on this 5 times. So, and a lot of that stuff, I might take it and use it later on. Like I do film scores from time to time. I've done a few documentaries, and I'm doing a horror film after the strike. That'll be pretty fun. And, I might go through some of that old stuff and just find some like really twisted sounding melodies or something that I don't even remember. And then I'll use them, and I'll have the MIDI and everything.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
It's kind of cool. Yeah. I just give myself that time or I'll go nuts.
Yeah. It's important. It's key,
Yeah. Yeah. Especially like, you finding you time, having an hour in the morning, having an hour at night. That's something that I try to do as well. I think
it's very zen because I don't want to sit down and just like get into it. Like I also need to like warm up my ears in a sense. So usually in the morning I find myself doing stuff that's pretty calm and I guess ethereal, because I love ambient music. Like I like to make it too. Like I have no problem with like putting a reverb on Infinite Decay and just you know what I mean? It's like that's a wonderful moment for me. So
just levitating.
But
you're like take me
yeah,
away.
I mean, because some of these albums are really heavy, and I have to sit here through it and listen to it all day. So that stuff is like also real good, like buffer between real life and studio life.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of your work has been, like you said, pretty heavy. So
lately, especially, wow.
Now, the record that you're going to be working on, I don't know. Are you even allowed to talk about that, like on record or anything like that? The one.
Which one? The one in Sweden?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I can talk about it. It's a solo artist, really, but it's called Old Sea Brigade, and it'll be like my 4th record with him. And he's actually from Atlanta, but he recently got married and has a new child, and she's Swedish. And he called me about, 6 months ago or so. I was like, hey, it's time to make the new record. You want to come over here to do it? And I was like, yes, I do. So we have some world-class studio in Gothenburg, Sweden that we're going to be working out of. And it'll be me and the other producer, Owen Lewis. And we'll be there for a whole month. We're going to try to do all the tracking, production, and mix while we're there.
Oh, wow.
In one big burst. So
oh wow, yeah, that's
is everybody like
it'll just be the 3 of us doing everything.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah,
that's pretty sick. So like you don't have to worry about like all these other like musicians or anything like that. It's going to be like a giant collaborative effort.
we'll have to see. You know, there might be a few songs where it's like one of us can't cover the drums or something. All of us can kind of fake drums, and if that's
We're all used to programming by now.
well, I mean, yeah. If we need a drummer, we'll find a drummer. It's not a big deal, or we can just hire somebody or from afar. So, but it's kind of a goal of ours because we kind of draw these records out all the other times, and so a goal of ours is to try to do it in one big bam, see what happens. Not overthink everything and mix it on the console over there. They have this big Neve situation. I don't even know what it is. I don't care.
That'd be a good name for a console. The situation.
Console's fine. Once
Oh,
you know
God.
a console, you got it. So
Yeah.
I mean, if we ever make
That'll
a
be great.
console, we call it the situation.
Yeah. The situation.
And then we just have that guy from Jersey Shore like on it.
dang.
Stupid. That's a callback, right? I don't know. Is that still a thing? I don't even know.
What, Jersey Shore?
Yeah.
I bet it's a thing. What do you want to bet?
I mean, I'm not gonna bet anything because I'm probably
Bet.
like I don't
Bet.
really have much to bet. So
I don't know. I just think that using that concept for a console, like it would just degrade the audio signal on the outputs,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it'd just be like not.
every time you go to hit a fader, like it just like stumbles around and goes back down on you because like it's like,
be
it's,
awesome.
like, it's like some kind of drunk asshole just like going like ugh.
Oh, I like
Pan
that. A
pots
drunk
move on their own.
automation
Yeah.
or drunk flying fader. Come on, man. Please don't do this right now. Oh, that's funny.
Well, we're copywriting this.
Do it.
We can-
Do it.
We need to patent that idea. And then we'll just
I
call
like
up
it.
the guy. I don't know what his real name is, but he'll probably tell us. And we're like, no, you're the
He
situation.
probably legally changed it to the situation or whatever.
His first name's the last name situation.
That's funny.
Let's like I mean like we are a gear podcast, so I mean like
Right.
have you watched any episodes?
I have a while ago. It's been a minute.
Well, I mean it's been a minute since we've been doing this, so I mean that makes sense.
Yeah.
With the whole move and everything, which you've come to
Sure.
the new shop. I mean like you've seen the warehouse.
Yeah.
It's just
It's
funny because
amazing.
you were here a few weeks ago, and now like we're doing it remote.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I guess we could have sat down in person. That would have
Yeah.
been sweet, but
I
Yeah,
mean,
it's-
I mean, immediately, like after meeting you, though, I was just like, "Oh, I fuck with this guy. We need to get him on the podcast. He's very funny."
I'm a moron. That's all it is. So-
No. Well, I mean,
No, the building was really cool. I'm really excited to see what you guys put together in that massive space. I was just like,
yeah,
this is
it's a big,
huge.
it is gigantic. I mean, right now it's like half furniture, but like that's a good thing. So
no, it was really cool to see and exciting to see the process and all that. I really enjoyed that.
you get to see that it's hand built here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really important.
Yeah.
People were in there doing it.
Yeah, not machines. I mean they are machines. They.
I was impressed. I was impressed with the levels of quality control and everything. I thought it was very exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's even changed a little bit since you've been in the last few weeks. We've already got like another session desk set up in that cedar room there for finishing, and it's setting up a nice little lab so everyone can, they can take time and really spend, learn the end user side if they want some more as well, because a lot of them, they know it, but like, especially new people that are starting. So I think it's going to continue to evolve. So next time you come, you'll definitely see some different stuff going on.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine teaching someone, how to go through the finite details of one of those units to tell them what's good or bad. It's like I can DIY and fix stuff, but when I'm going through it, the only thing I really know after it is like, it works. Or does it? Does it work good?
I think back to like the first time I built something or like DIY'd like something, and I was like, yeah, that's it. It works. And you're like, but then there's so much nuance that, oh, this is shit. I wouldn't release this. You know what I mean? Like if I go back and look at something, not to be like a snob about it or anything like that. It's just when you build something continuously over and over, you start to get a sense of what can go wrong, what's acceptable, what's not. When you spread it out across a range of like 100 different units or something like that, you know, listening that, oh, this noise floor is unacceptable in the left channel. Things like, you know, little nuance, things like that.
Well, yeah, that's the whole thing right there. It's, the nuance is the hardest part. Like, I don't know how you figured that crap out, because I give up once it works. I'm like, sweet. We're there, man.
I'm right there. That's how I am. So you're good. So I'm like, but
well, I've been lucky enough to do a lot of kits and stuff. Like me and Chris talked about it. Like this synth right here on top, that's the Mofo Sound Lab that I built. And it's awesome, but technically it's a kit because you get a designator sheet and you get the PCB that has everything with the designators on it. So it's still amazing how much you screw it up. But that's a kit technically. I can't imagine being like, I have this idea, man. And then you make it. And then you're like, oh, man, it works. Now let's make it sick. Like, I just couldn't. Mine would be hilarious. Every unit, they'd be like, hey, I'm not trying to be weird, but mine sounds really bad. And I'd just be like, yeah, totally. I don't know what to tell you.
You're like, that's the charm of it, man. That's the
Yeah,
character.
man, hey, we're individuals here. You know?
No,
So,
I mean, like,
I think that's pretty cool. It's I don't know how you guys figured that out. So.
well, one of the things that like about Chris and everything that I'm always amazed with is like one, his knowledge of it all, but also the fact that like his ears, like, because he's listened to these things thousands and thousands of times, is that his ears are like so fine tuned that like he can literally just be like, "There's something wrong with this," and I'm like, "It sounds good to me." So
Yeah. I mean, some people are built different, right, Chris?
I don't know about that. It's just I don't think like it's just calling bullshit, right, on something. That's all it
Yeah.
is what I look at when I'm looking at like if is any of this bullshit, you know, like basically is what I'm doing when I'm looking at this stuff. So, and you know, a lot of people there are OCD that we sell to as well, and that's fine. And I want to make sure I'm the same level of OCD as they may be, whether it's, you know, a knob that's wobbly or, you know, the noise floor. Or is this, you know, sometimes with vintage designs, you got to be like, do I accept this or do I change this kind of thing? And
Right.
then that's where the nuance comes into play. And then a lot of times, you know, I look at people that are like, in my opinion, way better engineers, like EEs than me, but they find like smart workarounds to things, but in the process, they'll like, you know they can ditch this part or they can do that. And like, I think I have a more simple mind in that regard where it's just like, no, use the thing they use, do it the hard way, find the piece, find the carbon composition resistor. Don't care if they're obsolete, you know, go find
Right.
them, you know, or whatever. They're becoming obsolete, which is making me pull my hair out every day as I try to find them. But
that's why he wears a hat.
yeah,
Yeah.
part of it.
That is helpful.
That and don't want to think.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but I think it's cool. You know, I mean, it does mean you're built differently, though, because some people will cut corners and you won't. So I think that's cool.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
yeah. That's
I feel like with the quality of the units that I've gotten, you know, I can sense that, I can feel that, you know, and they do sound really good and they aren't noisy. That's fun.
Well, we're competing with digital tools, you know, that like they you could add the noise or not, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
you want some hiss?
most of the digital noise is pretty rough. Gosh, when you add it, you're like, what in the hell?
It's all
I
ones
have like
and zeros.
one plug-in that does noise that I'm like, that's sick, man. It's like, it's this company called Aberrant DSP. Have you guys ever seen that? They make sketch cassette. It's just a cassette emulator. I don't know however that person did the noise, it's sick.
that's cool.
It's just like
that's something to
musical.
check
It
out.
feels like it actually happened.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, rather than being like, and you're just like, great, ruined it. I'm loving that ruin knob. So, anyway,
let's make this sound like shit.
Yeah. Well, the opposite of sounding like shit. You picked up some V comps from us recently, our V comp deluxe, and you sent me a text telling me, like, you're like, dude, these things have, like, they're my sound.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. You want to, like, elaborate on it, like, a little bit? How are you utilizing the VComp Deluxe?
Well, I had one goal in mind, and me and Chris went back and forth a ton about it, and I probably drove him insane with, like, my, like, monster text, because I text from my computer, so I can just haul ass on text where most other people, you know, phones and whatever. So I knew I wanted to do a stereo compressor situation for my primary vocal bus. And I knew I loved the Very Mew style compressor, and I really just was looking for like 5%, 10% more on that vocal bus, because I had bought the EQs from you guys, and it did that for me when I put it in line. I was just basically like, okay, cool, like exactly what I wanted, and I'm barely using them. You know what I mean? It's like the EQs, like there's barely anything happening, but when I bypass them, it's definitely like, well, shit, turn it back on. You know, so. And it's a small percentage, but it's an important percentage, because it's not something I have to like fabricate digitally or be like, all right, how can I get around? Let me get these 4 plugins out that do some sort of harmonic thing that, yeah, you can get there. And I love the plugins. I admire the people who made them and the genius behind coding. Like, it makes my brain just explode. But I definitely wanted to take some of that I guess work out of it, where I was like, all right, I want to lean on something that kind of stays the same over here, but how it's getting hit is determined by me and my system. So once I got the V-comps here, I was like, all right, this is how I like them to hit. This is how far I like them to gain reduce, you know. And this is usually the release I like, you know, this is blah, 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 whatever. And I started running my stuff into it, and then I took like a trim plugin in Pro Tools, and I just started hitting it as hard as I could to see, you know, what it would do for me. And then I backed it off until I got it to where I was like, I think I'm getting that 10% right now. I don't know what it is, you know. And once I found the settings I like, I just left it. So literally the only things that are ever going to change on them are the drive switch, whether or not I need it to be just, you know, crunchier or whatever, you know. So the reason I love them so much too is that they're so smooth, and I feel like I'm just doing AudioScape advertisement right now, but
it's fine.
I think this is good, because I think this is actually what they do, and this is why I've been using them on every single mix. They can handle effects within my bus, because I usually, in my main vocal bus, there's, you know, all my vocals, you know, the effects and everything. And so some compressors can't handle reverb, it can't handle delay, or it makes the delay so compressed that it, you know, 3 taps of a delay sound like 9, you know, you know, it's like just because it's so perfectly linear. So they're smooth enough in a way that it's just bringing it all together in this way that I've wanted to hear for a long time. And other plugs and stuff, they can do it, but I'm getting some sort of harmonic content that I don't even know where it's coming from, you know what I mean? And I don't really give a shit where it's coming from. I just know when I run into them, I'm getting it. And I'm getting my vocal sound pretty fast. You know what I mean? Like, where before it was a process of elimination, like, well, let's try this, let's try that. This is what I normally do, you know? Because one thing I really try to avoid, which I think is kind of stupid on my behalf, but I don't love templates. And I don't love to just be like, let me drop shit in. All right, there it is, you know. That's my sound. Boom, no matter who you are. And so I do have like preset channels and stuff that I've had great success with these things every time. And I've added the V-comps to my primary vocal channels, and it just gives me that 10% I needed. And it also, you know, holds it in line, you know, being that Very Mew. It's not like just bang, bang, you know, it's very, because that's one thing I was worried, because we talked about the decomp.
Yep.
And the decomp, I was just like, I don't know, man, it might just be a little too like, you know, bombs, like bang, bang, bang. You know, it's like really, it's a fast unit, which I'm sure I would like, but I needed something that kind of just grabbed it and just hugged it for a while. And this does it for me. It does it in a really, really cool way. And then, you know, like I said, if I want to like juice it, I just hit that drive switch and it definitely goes to another level at that point. So that's really how I like it, and I like how they sound. It immediately makes the vocals sound the way I want it to sound. So
That's great. And the and are you using it with the link jacks too? With them stereo linked?
So I haven't been lately, and this could be crazy. I could be making it up, but I feel like it's giving me maybe more width.
Yep. That's
Without
usually, I mean, when people, you know, we don't have the stereo link jacks like on our 76s, for instance. And, you know, and we always tell people dual mono, usually that is the preferred stereo image. So like you're not honest, you're not crazy, but it's nice to have it when you need it with the stereo link jack. But yeah, the, having it in dual mono, definitely, I feel like that's usually a preference of mine as well. So, that's interesting that you.
Sorry, it's my son.
Oh, no problem.
Hey, buddy. Sorry, I'll come back. Oh, sorry. But yeah, I have been doing them in dual mono, and I just feel like I got an extra 10% of width, and then it made because before I was chaining them, and I definitely felt like everything sounded normal. But then when I was just like, I took it out, then my effects sounded a little wider and everything, and I was like, sick. So
yeah. And I think,
I mean, the unfortunate part is now I need like 3 more or something because I can't touch these ever again. Now they're on 2 records. I can't touch them because I know in 15 years that artist is going to be like, hey man, so we're doing a deluxe version and we're hoping to like dB up on vocals. Can you do that? And, you know, I'll have to just have the same setting. So might just take the knobs off and everything.
Oh my God.
I basically have a tracking and a mixing section to my rack. You know, like my top half is for tracking, the bottom half is for mixing. So
no, that's smart. The and it's actually good. I know you're joking about an advertisement for AudioScape or whatever, and I'm, you know, usually like, yeah, you know, like we're not like about that here on the podcast, but people have been asking like how they work strapped across buses and things like that with the VComp Plus in particular. So it's really cool to hear how you're using it in stereo and that, you know, on across your vocal bus. So
well, and I've tried it a few different ways because you were like, hey man, I'd love to hear how you feel about with the synthesizers because I have so many synthesizers. And it does that really, really well too, especially with the drive.
yeah.
You throw that drive on, you're just like, oh shit, like this just got interesting. So I really like their sound, and you know, ergonomically they're so familiar. You know, because we've had units like this for a while that it feels like home. You know what I mean? And so there's nothing about it that you're like, what the hell? It's just like you're immediately where you want to be. But it has its own voice. It has its own characteristics that make it exciting, you know. And I've had a lot of fun with them so far, and they're making me look pretty damn good to my client.
14 tubes, man. You know, with between those 2 stereo unit or those 2 mono units.
Oh,
you know?
yeah, man.
It's really helpful, and everyone has said something. You know, like, hey man, did something change in the vocals? And I'm like, yeah, you know, it's compressors. I tell them straight up what I've done. I'm just like, I needed this, you know, this extra thing that I've been looking for. And I think we talked about one time too, like I used to have just piles of rack gear, and then there was a time where it was like, I can't deal with it anymore because labels and everything, they can't deal with it. And it was kind of before we could do it this way, where I could actually recall and just use a great converter into the units, back into Pro Tools. And I know we've had TDM or HD for a long time, but there was still something, I don't know, like it like almost couldn't be trusted in a weird way. Like I felt like for the longest time I would open a session, it would have hardware on it, and something would be different, you know. And I don't know if that's because I've become a psychopath about voltage regulation. You know, I have just all this crap, you know what I mean? Like the power goes out here, I'll have all these alarms that go off and batteries turn on, and like, but that shit really matters, you know? It's like voltage is so important, you know? So I just know now lately with your units, and I know they'll, you know, they're modern, even though they have like a classic feel. I know they'll be able to handle the task with these new labels and what we're trying to do. And I think it says a lot too about the units, about their noise too, because I mean, the output of the mixes we're putting out now is so loud. People expect, like, especially in like metal or like hardcore, like, you know, what was it? And like, I forgot, I saw like am I talking a lot? Am I talking too much or is this good?
Yeah, you're great.
You're the
It
guest.
was in the 90s sometime, they showed like a graph or something of the output level of the albums and how it's changed over time.
Yeah, the loudness wars and that.
Yeah, well, I think in the 90s it was like minus 20. And now we're at like minus 3. And now they're measuring everything in like broadcast standards. And so it's like when you limit a brick wall something this hard, I think that was another thing back in the day too, is we had more noise on our TDM systems and stuff. So you start juicing your limiter and you just start hearing noise, and that's the shit they hear. And is it just me? Or I mean, I'm hearing something, you know, and you're just like, what? And then you turn off the outboard unit and they're like, oh man, you fixed it. What was that? You know, where these have been able to withstand that. I feel like, I mean, I'm sending some hot shit out there and they are just like, sick. Sounds great. So that's great. That's, you know, that's an important thing to be able to use that many tubes and have it that clean or nasty if you want. So,
Yeah.
Oh, we can get nasty.
oh, I know it gets weird over there in
Yeah.
Daytona.
Oh no, I wasn't talking about here, but yeah, it does here too.
Oh, sorry.
But I was talking about the V-comps. If you really want them to get nasty, they
Yeah,
get
they
nasty.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Especially triple mode. Was it Matt Lang was doing that with this since he was triple mode.
Oh
Dry,
yeah.
fastest release, and it just starts glitching and pumping out like crazy.
Oh my god.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, it's a great effect when you want to use it that way. But yeah, it's very few and far between. It's kind of like
I think I have to buy another one so I could use it
Well, you know where to find
outside
them.
of the mixing. I mean, I'm literally thought about building another rack that's in the corner that no one can touch. Just leave it over there.
Just your own
Michael
personal
Brower
one.
style. You know, Michael Brower, he did his, I think he actually even called them his anchors. And he put ears on the other side of his racks, and the units he didn't want touched were facing away. And he had like these like little screens over them so no one could like touch them, and that those never changed. And then all the ones in the front were the ones that he's like, yeah, cool, you know. Maybe I'll just go full Brower mode, get like 10 of these.
Oh my god. I mean, a wall of V-comps. I mean, we've only seen it like for like when we have like a bunch built up and like, you know, put them on a shelf. for a
Probably really
photo. Like
fun.
that's the only time we've ever seen like a wall of V-comps. But if you want to utilize that, and
Well, I just think, you know I would want one for tracking, and I could do it between records, between mixes. I could definitely change it, but it's one of those things you don't really want to touch it once you get it where you want it.
just use like your Patch Rat subscription or something like that, or just take a photo of them and be like, all right, there's my settings.
Photos don't work.
I know, but the Patch Rat subscription might. I mean,
I don't even know about that. What is that?
we'll send you one. Like,
Great.
it's free.
Great. Thank you.
So yeah, but it's a good way to like recall all your stuff. And
Cool.
yeah, we have.
well, it's
The OptoComp is in my tracking setup. I use that all the time. I sent you guys a record I produced last year. This guy named Chris Staples. Mm-hmm. He's an amazing artist, and we used the V-Comp and the Acme. I have the Acme Opticom 3 or whatever. We kind of used those exclusively on that album. We just kind of went back C37 into a Wonder Audio pre into my console and then back into one of those, and it was interesting to see the variance between those two units, even though I think the Opticom is kind of ripping off that OptoComp design, but man, they're different. So I kind of use the Opticomp yours for the cleaner stuff, and then the Opticom for the like grindier stuff. So really, really wonderful. So
No, that's cool. Yeah. The Optos, I mean, that's just great tracking, great posts, you know. It's, you know, tracking even, you know, with a 1176 style comp grabbing the fast peaks, something like that too, and then hitting it on the back end with an LA2A after, is great too. You know,
yeah.
but I mean,
it's one of those comps that kind of no matter where you put the knobs, it's kind of good.
yeah, you can't mess it up, for sure. There is definitely more of a sweet spot. It seems like with the on the input control in particular, with the depending on the drive settings and things like that, with the VComp pluses, like you were talking about, like it just likes to be driven just to that right spot. But yeah, with the OptoComp, it's just like you can't mess it up. Just don't, I guess get digital clipping or something.
Yeah. I did a record one time in Charlotte, North Carolina at this like world-class studio called GAT3. Have you guys ever heard of that place? It's one of these places where you're like, so how do you have all this? Like, I mean, you walk in and you just cannot believe the onslaught of equipment. Like, and it's all like perfectly serviced and everything. I'm like, what's going on? Anyway, he had like 4 original LA2As, and the way I like to treat them is I honestly don't like to look at them, the gain reduction, when I'm doing it. And one of their engineers was just kind of like, so you're not going to look at it? Like, he was like getting irritated at me. I was like, well, I'm listening. And he's like, but you see what it's doing, right? It's like really hitting it. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. It sounds awesome.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. Never look at that needle. It's so I know it seems counterintuitive at first, but so many people, I feel like they hear with their eyes, and that's obviously the right way to do it. Just listen,
Yeah.
There was a great plugin from Massey that he's discontinued called Listen, and you click it and the screen goes black. I really miss it. And he took it out. He had this like little tool set of all this like weird stuff. And I'm just like, dude, that's like the best plug ever made. Like, just bang. It was awesome. So anyway,
that's great.
No,
I guess I could still do it, but
yeah, no, I mean, like, there are a lot of people out there that will just fixate on the meter and just be like, oh, well, no, I can't do this. I'm like, just wait, just whatever sounds good to you. That's what it should be, because it's all subjective. Yeah, like it's all subjective anyway.
It's really hard too with frequency analyzers, like certain EQs and stuff. Like, you can't help but get excited about being able to see every possible problem.
Yeah.
But that's a problem in itself. And you're getting rid of things that are awesome sometimes just because it appears to be a problem. And so you still, in the end, have to use your ears, but it can be a challenge when you're looking at these beautiful interfaces. And you're just like, whoa, let me just take everything out. And then, like, the source sounds horrible, but you're like, looks right.
Yeah, that could be a distraction for sure, and also kill some time. Try to track something down that's you don't hear but you see. So yeah.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah. Another thing is, like, you're hitting it really hard, but you got to keep in mind, like, the meter scales on, like, they're only 10 dB is like a lot of the throw on the meter scale for like an 1176 and LA2A, whereas talking about the VComp Plus stay level style circuit was 40 dB on that. People are like, how come the needle's not moving too much? It's like
you're going 15 right now.
My opto moves so much. It's like, no, it doesn't work the same. Like, look at the scale, the actual scale. That's something.
I never even thought of that being like a question that you would get. Hey man, just wondering.
All the time.
It's just slamming,
all
man.
the time. And it's one of those things where even at first, when I first got that, I didn't even think about it, too much. But when I first got that question, I was like, yeah, they want that satisfaction, that payoff of like, let me crank the thing and see how much I can make it compress. And if it's not going all the way to the very bottom, but they're not realizing that it's, the scale is like 30 dB more just about, or 20, I guess technically 20 dB more, but that last 10 to 20 on there is like nothing on the throw on the meter scale on those. So
right.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I never even, I have a weird threshold I won't even go past. Like, I'm just kind of like, cool. But
well, that's
I usually
how it
just
should
know,
be used. Yeah, not for sure like that. But
the only time the meters really come into play for me though is when I'm like, the hell is happening? And then I look over there and it's like, and I'm just like, oh my God. Like, No wonder it sounds like shit.
You're like, oh, that's what's happening. It's dabbing at me right now.
No dynamic range.
It's just that's funny.
Now, have you ever had like any like when you're working with an artist or a band or anything like that, where you're sitting there going like, this sounds fucking awesome, and then, but like they're sitting there going like, I don't know. I guess it's their art, so like they're trying to put in like as much input as they can to you, even though they don't know how to mix or anything.
Well, in production, it's changed so much over the years at this point, because now the people I get, they really want what I do, so they come in and it's a collaboration.
Yeah.
And it's really fun, and we just have mutual, like, what do you think of that? What do you think of this? Blah, 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 you know. Where early on, dude, it was just all questions. Like, so is it supposed to sound like this? You know, they're like looking around, you're like what? And they're like, oh, bad. You know, and you're just like, no. I thought it sounded pretty good. Oh, yeah, I don't. No. I feel like that stuff has kind of gone away, and I do think now people more than ever understand the process. Like, where back in the day, getting to go into a studio, like when I started, it was not a normal thing. You know, now you go to a kid's house and he has a full studio, he has an Apollo and some nice speakers, and he can make whatever he wants with that, you know, or she. Mm-hmm. And so I think the expectation of what can happen has just changed. And so there's a lot less like nervous energy in the room about, you know, just the same with vocals now. Like, you know, back in the day we had to be assholes because it's like, hey, you're singing so poorly. It's not going to work. And they're like, I don't know why I'm so bad. You know, but now it's like, we want a great performance, but we can tweak those little notes we have to, you know, and not jeopardize, you know, a great performance. Because, you know, a great performance to me is very human. And so, you know, a perfect take usually comes after, well, you know, like an old school perfect take or like a perfect pitch take usually has no life. Unless they're just a phenomenal singer, which you're going to get in the first 2 or 3 takes. You know, it's like those people are going to come in and you're going to be like, just have your shit ready, because there's a good chance this 1 or 2, you know, times they do it are going to be really special. And then after that, they're going to start getting pissed because they're so good that they're like, I've done this. You know, but back in the day, you know, somebody who had more trouble, like to get a perfect, like, take per se, you just lost a life, you know. And we have all these great tools now that give these artists a chance to really just kind of be able to be themselves. And if there's a goof up that's very human and they want to change it, we can change it. Now, obviously, people go very extreme. You know, we know about tuning and all that stuff, but those are tools now too that can be used in creative ways, and we just got to be cool with it. Does that answer your question? I feel like I went deep.
Yeah, no, I think yeah.
No, that was interesting. I mean, the landscape definitely has changed. I going
this way. Like,
you know?
Dude, if you want to get off path, we'll get off path. But like,
this is actually, I'm surprised at how on path this has been.
This has been pretty. Yeah, I've been
feeling very pathy.
I've been staying on course. So
I love talking about this stuff, though. I love the process. So
yeah. I mean, when did you discover that you loved doing this part of music, like being like doing production and doing like mixing and mastering, whatever, you know, like not so much like the performance aspect. I would maybe that's.
Well, I did have a band, and we were on Atlantic, like every other band that was on a major label. When you quit, there's no possible way you could ever have another job. So what do? You start recording bands. I did sort of do that, but I was into recording at an early age, and I'm really a lucky person because I found a 4-track reel-to-reel in my parents' garage when I was in 8th grade, and it's right there. And
you still have it.
And I just like kind of refurbed it, took it apart, cleaned it, got it running the correct speed. I'm still having trouble with some of the playback heads, but I'll figure that. But I have it there forever because it's a perfect representation of how it started and how hard it was to record at the beginning. But when I first got this out of the garage, I had no clue what I was doing. But I realized that it was a 4, like you could do 4 things. Burp, burp. And why my parents had a 4-track reel-to-reel. I know, albums came out on reel-to-reel. People always had reel-to-reel on their home systems to record from, somebody might bring over a vinyl or, just anything else. That's how you did it early on. My uncle has a huge collection of reel-to-reel tapes, and there's like really rare stuff on there. So I get it why they had it, but everyone had 2-track recorders. Why'd they have a 4? Somebody talked them into it, like, oh man, this is more than 2.
They upsold the 4. Yeah.
You could have 4. It's like, what are they going to do? I don't know. It's like, but where I actually started with it, before I realized how cool this thing was, is I had 2 Walkmans, and I, at my mom's church, I noticed in a closet, there was this old PV mixer, like a really bad one. Really bad. When it was the writing?
Oh,
yeah.
Like the sick writing, the PV. Like everyone had that PV in their like bedroom next to their like Washburn. But
Yeah.
they had one, and my mom just asked them like, hey, could my son mess with that thing? And they're like, what is it? They didn't, how long had it been in there? And so they let me take it home, and it actually had like a lot of connectivity. What I didn't know about it, though, is that it was powered. I had no idea. Like it could run speakers. And so later on, I blew a few things up with that, not knowing what it was, like sparks and stuff, like could have really hurt myself. But I was smart enough to go like line out of it rather than like main out. So what I did is I had one of the Walkmans. Like, you remember the yellow ones? Like you would exercise with them?
Oh, yeah. Those things are indestructible.
I might be older than you guys. I'm 44. How old are you guys?
Well, I'm 35.
I got to think.
See, yeah,
about
I'm way older.
What are you, 42?
42, I think.
42?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a senior. So
what, would you graduate? 97? You graduated?
I graduated in 97,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm 2000, so.
No, Chris, I'm older.
2000,
Anyway.
2006. Yeah.
I have these Walkmans, and I really love this aspect of it because I didn't know what I was doing, but what I did is I had these 2 Walkmans. So what I did is I'd play guitar and record onto one. And then I'd take that tape, put it in the other Walkman, play it, and then play along while it recorded. And I kept trying to do that, and I never understood why it kept getting out of tune. But the Walkmans ran at different speeds. Even though they were barely off, it could have been like 2 cents, but over time that becomes like, 15 until it's just like, whoa, it's like a fun house, like heads exploding. So I remember trying to show my mom like these horrible recordings I made, and she's just like, why don't you use our thing that you found? And I actually had to go to a local like CB shop, like it's called Palm Electronics, and they like made CB stuff, like for your car, like come in smoky, that guy stuff. I'm like, it's kind of crazy they had a business for that, and people were like, man, my mic's busted, like. And my mom took me up there, and I took it in there, and he taught me he explained it to me. He knew how to do it. And once he explained it to me, I took it home, and I did the same thing with the PV mixer, and I had a really high fidelity recording, in my opinion, that was at the correct speed. And so that's really when I was like, this is insane. Also, it's my first time, I feel like, really dealing with magnetic tape and not understanding anything about gain staging. So I'm hitting it way too hard, so it's compressing through the tape, but I'm also thinking, this sounds really good. Like, because it's distorting onto the tape, and I'm like getting excited, like, what did I do? And then I tried to recreate it later, and of course I couldn't. But that's kind of where it started, and so I always had a deep fascination with it, and so I started buying, like, I don't know, Sound on Sound magazines and stuff like that just to see equipment. Because in the 90s, unless there was a studio local, you were not seeing equipment. No one had that stuff. I mean, it's, I think when I have a Neotech Series 2, I think when it came out, it cost like $290,000.
Jesus.
You know what I'm saying? Like, in the 80s. So it's like, who's going to have that? Like,
Yeah, nobody.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Not a lot of people.
So specialized, and yeah, it was all big studios.
Yeah.
You know.
and you had to have a tech. You had to have a real tech around. Like all, obviously
on
that kind of
staff.
stuff has changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody
And
actually
so-
knew what the hell they were like looking at.
Yeah, I mean, it's if you don't now, we all know. We all have a way to figure it out, and it's not as daunting. But I can't imagine having something like this. But I just was very interested, and I had another friend in town, my friend Jason, and he was extremely interested in tape machines, and he eventually had like a Nagra machine. Do you know about Nagras, you guys? Those like weird Swedish or Switzerland machines, and so we just kind of had this fascination together until mine grew into 4-track cassette. I tried that out, and then I was like, I want more. I got an 8-track mini disc. Then I saved up all my money, and I got a 16-track mini disc. Then I saved up all my money, and I got a 32-track mini disc. And then one day I went to the music store, and they go, "Have you heard about these things called sound cards?" And he had this interface, and he's like, "This is a sound card. You like put it in your computer, and then I guess it records in there." I don't know. Like everybody was just kind of like, "What do we do with it records into the, So and then I switched to that, and then I just kept going and going and going until it built up. Then I had my band, and I did all of our demos. Then we got signed off those demos, and so I was encouraged that I could do it. And I had some really solid mentors. I think we talked about Jim DeVito at Retrophonics Studio up in St. Augustine. He was such a great encouragement because he had every piece of gear ever made, but he also was just like, man, that shit doesn't matter. All that matters is what's going in. He said that to me, and that really like resonated with me. And I still, to this day, it's like, a bad singer is a bad singer on every mic. A great singer is a great singer on every mic. So, and I learned that stuff from him. So that's kind of like where it all started and how it evolved. And I just had a general like love for the process, and I loved listening to albums and being like, this is so different from this one. And still to this day, when I hear stuff, I'm just like, how did they do that then? Like if I listen to like Killer Queen, which years later I got a multi-track of Killer Queen and almost like fainted because I could not believe what they accomplished with so little. And it's the most insane recording. Like those people are brilliant. Like the way they combine things, the confidence, like just the balls to be like, all right, we're good with those 24 tracks, put them on 2. Bang. And they just like burn it to 2. Which I'm sure they made copies. They had ways to make copies so they could get it back or whatever. But, I was always just so fascinated with the idea of it all. So
it is interesting to listen to anything that's older, that's broken out, and you can just hear things isolated. And like even when we were kids listening to some of these songs, like you never would dream that you'd be able to hear just the vocal isolated or anything like that. Like it just seemed like magic to you or something. Like you were always just used to hearing the finished product. So
just God, I remember this actually wasn't that long ago. I think I was watching like somebody mix like an old Beatles song, and they were just breaking down like how they did everything, but hearing like the isolated tracks of those was amazing. Just I don't know, because you don't like that's something that you don't think that you would hear, especially from back then. Like you figure they've like mastered it and they were just like, all right, now get rid of all those tracks now. But like no, they still have them.
What's crazy about the Beatles too is like those guys who recorded it were in lab coats. So like George Martin's back there in his suit and like he's just like Mr. Pimp. But like Jeff Emmerich and all of them, they're in like lab coats because it's science.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they're in there like, so how do we do this? You know what I mean? And they're in there like physics and like, I'm just saying it was like actual science, and
it was some serious shit back then, for sure.
God. Oh yeah.
Just figuring it out. Can you imagine being like, okay, so they want to do this. What do we do? And they got to use like their doctorate to figure it out. So I do love hearing the isolated stuff. It's been really cool. And it's so educational because you realize how much of that is just based on who those artists were, you know.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I heard a Marvin Gaye multi-track one time. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, he's just the best singer that's ever lived. That's why I love Marvin Gaye. Like, you know, the drummer it's like a one mic situation. And you're like, that's the best drummer I ever heard in my life. You know, it's like, and they were probably like, hey man, so the mic's gonna be right here. So, you know, your ride's there. So when you hit your ride, you like barely hit it. But I can't hear the hi-hat. So make sure you're hitting your hi-hat harder. And, you know, the kick's probably a little too hard. You know, think about all the things he had to go through just to get it balanced, you know, and I mean, hats off to those artists. It's like unbelievable craft that some of those people pulled together.
It's like you have to get into it, but you have to restrain yourself too. So.
Think about the Beatles. Think about how many times they changed the mic setup on the early Beatles stuff. I can't hear anything. All right, move them. I can't hear them anymore. I want to hear imagine about the day when they decided that they were going to pan it. And then they panned it, and they were like, head explosion, like, I hear everything, boom, boom, like probably puking all over the control room. You know what I mean? Just like, I can't believe it. Like,
they're just throwing up because they're like, ugh.
It probably sounded insane when you've heard everything coming down the middle for so long, you know? So, anyway.
Oh, God, imagine just being the first person to just figure out panning in general and just being like, just being the first person to actually do that and then be like, hey, listen to this or whatever. Because like,
or just implementing that every single place you listen to music has to have 2 channels.
Yeah.
Which is technically 3, you know, right, center, left. And just, you know, then people being like, I have to buy 2 of these? Are these people crazy? I'm not buying 2. Stupid. You know, like.
Remember being a kid, like listening to something that was hard pan, or like you only had like one speaker or something, and like parts just completely gone and missing, and you're like, what the? Where is that part?
Yep. Yep.
Mom, you bought the wrong one.
Wasn't there a guitar solo here?
Yeah, there was, but Winamp fucked the whole thing up.
Dang, Winamp.
Oh yeah, you used to
Classic.
just take one of those like little computer mics that just like, you know, like plugged into the headphone jack, and you're like, all right, whatever, and then just tried to record.
Oh, dude,
man,
Winamp is classic, man.
And you thought you were making magic with that.
You were, bro. You were.
I still have like one of those little cassette recorders like that people use like in memo, like in meetings. Or like, all right, like you hit the record
Dictaphone?
button.
You talking about
Just like a little tape recorder that like they put on the table and that has like a giant speaker on it, and they just hit record.
Love.
And like I still have mine. I still have demos from like when I was in middle school and high school of me on my acoustic guitar that's out of tune and my voice that's going like, you know, so like just
I love that crap. I love finding that stuff though. Like, holy crap! And then you play it and you're like, whew.
Yeah.
Pretty bad.
Yeah.
Never realized.
I don't know. I sit there like, because I've listened to like, you know, the Moldy Peaches, and I'm like, well, they made it work. So,
Yeah.
like I might have a hit right there. I might have a hit record right there, and I had no idea.
Dude. Yeah, we should just re-release all our old demos and just call it lo-fi.
You know.
I like finding all like the old records and cassettes and that from like when you were a kid.
Oh,
And
yeah.
like all the stuff you used to have. Like, you know, like, oh, here's kind of cool. Like, here's a U2 CD. And then, oh, Michael Bolton. Like,
Yeah, open it up. Yeah.
Paula
Which is funny
Abdul.
because I'll listen to both today. I'll listen to Michael Bolton right now. And I'll jam you too also. It's funny our parameters about what we would and would not listen to back then. Now I'm just like, is it good? I don't care.
My mother loved Michael Bolton, and he lived in Connecticut, and he lived like down this street from my aunt and uncle. So every time we would go to my aunt and uncle's house, my mom would go and say hi to Michael Bolton. Like, she still has a photo of him that he signed and like addressed to her and everything like that. So I don't know. I still haven't showed her the Christmas special of his though.
I feel like we were more receptive back then because there was just less to choose from as well.
True.
Yeah.
There was a lot less to choose from, and that also made it so like there was like no really bar like there is now today for like looks on an artist. And like I was seeing something where they were talking about like Phil Collins just looks like he's like your trash guy or something, like just and releasing like the most epic recordings of all time. Like, like maybe we shouldn't judge how people look.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, I've seen
Like-
some people that look like they were like tough guys, and then they sing like the most beautiful pop ballad I have ever
Didn't they
heard.
say that about Christopher Cross? Like his song came out and it was like this huge like romantic hit, and then they had him like sing at the Grammys, and everybody was like, "Who is that?" And I'm just like, well, that sucks. This guy sings like a freaking angel. Like he's awesome.
Yeah,
back off of Chris.
Yeah, exactly. And then and then like the fact that, you know, some of their biggest hits, like these artists, like they were older, like they were, you know, like in their 40s when they're doing these hits, and like, you know, they talk about, oh, well, maybe, you know, somebody in their 40s has a little bit more life experience and something to reflect upon than maybe somebody who's 17 who, you know, got their iPad taken away, you know? Yeah. So I don't know.
That's everything now. That's
you know?
that's how you parent. You just be like, you better listen to me, or I'm taking that fucking iPad away. It's just, no.
You got to get a safe lock and key.
Oh, I just put it on top of the fridge. Like I'm just like, there you go.
Yeah.
He's 5, so he can't get to it. So What is it? So we are basically at the time, but we're gonna do some just really quick weird question lightning rounds.
Lightning round.
This is something that I've been interested in asking people lately. So
Lightning.
Yeah. So what's the worst advice you've ever given someone?
Oh my God, there's a lot of it. I don't think I have an answer for that. Oh, because I blocked it all out.
You blocked it all out? You can't think of like any maybe you're helping your kid with his homework, and he was just like, yeah, like you just go, yeah, that's the answer.
Probably me being like, check YouTube to my son. The next thing you know, it's like a horror thing. He's like crying. I'm just like, oh my God. I don't know. That's a good question though. That stumped me. I don't have anything for that.
Follow-up question: what's the worst advice somebody's ever given you?
Gosh. Probably when I was in my band, them telling me to basically just not to be myself and to come up with a character.
Son of a bitch fish.
You want me to say that again?
Making you be someone, making you want to, you know, encouraging you to be somebody other than yourself. You know?
Yeah, basically they just like, you know, you got to put on a show, man. Just put on, and it's like, well, if I had been myself, it'd probably been quite successful. But when you're faking it, you can't do it.
Yeah, and that was back then. There was so much like influence with people. I feel like versus like nowadays, you just put out who you are, more or less, and either the world accepts it or not. You know, kind of thing. Whereas back then it was like, let me talk to this person, and they, you know, they're telling me I need to do this, and you know, whereas
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, the best thing that I have ever. Basically, in my mid-20s, I just decided that like, you know what other people think of me is none of my business, and I'm just gonna be me, and I don't care. Like
I like that.
Like just
that's hard though. That's hard to do.
Yeah, well, you know, life's too short. Like I don't know.
I hear you.
It's just like why would I try to be someone else, and then I can sit there and look at myself in the mirror and be like, you're such a fucking poser, man.
Well, that's the hard part. That's the hard part, man. You always do feel that way about yourself, you know, after a question like that, or somebody being like, you know, it's gotta be an act, man.
Yeah,
it's just like, well, great. This is gonna be real great. So,
I mean, I'm all about like I say tasteless jokes, everything. I don't think I almost got it. God, there's been a moth flying around this whole entire time.
That damn moth.
Yeah. If you were a flying animal, what would you be?
Oof, gosh. Probably like the Motu from Godzilla or something. You know,
I like that. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, I think that's, I could take out a whole city. You know, like San Fran, just land on San Fran, just take it out.
Very nice. If you had to, if there was one song that would play every single time that you walked into a room and everybody could hear it, and they would have to listen to the whole thing while you're in there, what song would that be? And you can't change it ever. Like this is the song. This one defines you.
I don't think it defines me, but it's the song that I could handle every time. Probably Yesterday by the Beatles.
Oh, okay, that's a good answer.
Yeah, like I can
song
handle
too.
it every single time I hear it. To this day, I probably heard it 2,000 times. I'm like, all right, every single time. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah.
All right, one
know what
has
I mean?
one has to go. The Beatles or Led Zeppelin? Which
Zeppelin,
means-
see ya.
Oh, shit. I mean, there's a lot of people that are just like, oh man, I can't get rid of John Bottom. So
I mean, I gotta just lean on the song. I mean, look, Zeppelin is unbelievable, but they were
yeah.
just never my bag. But I just gotta lean on the songs. I don't know. I'm a Paul guy and John, George, and Ringo. I like them all. Whatever. I'm into all of it. So
we got a guy here named John Paul George. And,
Dang.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. Like,
that's amazing. God, I'm stealing that.
Yeah, no,
He
well,
works on the EQPs. He probably helped
he probably
build your
helped.
EQP. That's sitting back there. So there you go.
Yeah.
Thank you so
We'll
much.
have to get him on.
Yeah, we do have to get him on. Like, he would love to be on.
No,
too.
yeah, he'd be great to have on.
Oh, yeah, he's definitely. He did the intro this week for our weekly podcast. So, not our weekly podcast. Well, I mean, this is our weekly podcast, so not this. Our weekly update.
Noise.
All right, aliens.
They're real. Yeah.
Look at the rack behind him. What do you think his answer's going to be? Like,
Aliens.
really, with the modular,
yeah.
synthesis going on back there? Yeah. No, there's no aliens.
There's no aliens.
I do think all the latest stuff that's come out has been really humorous because it's probably just a cover up for something else. But yes,
It keeps
come
getting
on.
buried.
I
Though.
mean,
I don't know. I always felt like they would. I always felt like when they said like, "Oh, these are real," I always thought that would be like the collapse of religion, and everything that they know, because they'll just be like, "Oh," but
well, we live in the most untrusting time of all time. So I don't think and everyone's so pre-consumed in themselves, they can't even take the time to learn about an alien that we found. But I also think it's funny that every picture of the aliens we have, it's a humanoid alien. I'm just like, if this is the fake one, you guys screwed up. Like, you got to do something that isn't just looks just like us. Like, you gotta, let's get creative, But when I see that James Webb telescope picture and they're like, yeah, this is the size of a needle point and there's 2,000 galaxies, I'm like, come on.
yeah,
It's not possible. It's just the statistics alone. It's just like,
the ignorance. Yeah,
of course it's real. Come on.
Yeah. I was gonna say, do you think they've been here? And
Would they want to? That's another question. They're probably there's what's that one Family Guy episode where that shows the aliens are pulling up. They look down with their TVs and they're just like, nah, I don't think so. They just bolt.
South Park has that whole entire episode where it's they took different species from every single different planet and just put them onto Earth, and Earth is their television show that they watch. Just seeing,
Makes sense.
just
Makes
seeing the
sense.
shit that they get into.
Yeah, Men in Black makes a lot of sense. When you watch it and you're all these crazy people are just aliens. It's kind of I don't know, that could be pretty dead on the head. I don't know.
That's my fucking neighbor.
Feeling really accurate. But anyway.
Ghost? You believe in ghosts?
Okay, so I believe in dreams. I believe in multi-dimensional stuff.
Oh yeah, multiverse.
Well, not like Spider-Man, but the idea that
You don't think there's another Jeremy out there that's still in his band that was signed to Atlantic? What band?
definitely not in the band anymore, but I definitely believe, I don't know, my hope is that it's dimensional, when it comes to religion and stuff, that it's
Yeah.
it would be a dimensional thing, not a pearly gates and stuff. It just,
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like stuff happens in our dreams. Do you guys know the movie Explorers?
I've never seen it.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that one.
Please go watch it. It's River Phoenix and Ethan Hawke when they were kids.
Okay.
I think I've come across it. I don't know if I've seen it.
I don't think I've
It's
seen
wacky. But it's one of my favorites from the 80s, and it's all about him getting messages through dreams from an alien species. And then they built a spaceship and they fly it to space. So that's amazing 80s shit. But
I need to watch that. That's right up my alley.
But it's awesome. I think it's really fun. It's the same director who made Inner Space.
Oh, well, I've seen Inner Space. Inner Space.
Well,
was
Inner
great.
Space classic. But
Yeah.
I like the idea of like dreams and, just maybe cross-dimensional crossings. You know what I mean? Like I listened to this. Do you guys know that podcast called Radio Rental?
No.
It's really good because it's like just like odd. People call in with like odd stories, like, "Hey, this happened, and I can't explain it." And like this one guy called in, and he was like, "So one night I went out to dinner with my girlfriend. We're having a great time. Blah blah blah. We go back to our apartment in New York, and we go to sleep. When we wake up, she's like irate and yelling at me, and like says she's leaving me forever, and I don't understand what's going on." We walk downstairs. She gets in a cab, drives off, and then 1 second later, my girlfriend taps me on the shoulder and goes, "Hey, I just got back from my thing." You know what I mean? And like he was like, "What's going on?" And like it's like, and then like all this stuff happened with her dad, who was like the chief of police, and all this shit. And they thought he had. Like,
Are you
beat her
sure
up.
you're not talking about Spider-Man, like in the multiverse? Like that's
Could be Spider-Man, could be, but it was a really interesting story. The way he like, obviously, I'm like messing up the timeline, but like,
I got to listen to that.
Yeah,
it's
sounds
really
interesting.
great. Yeah, there's like really good stories, but I like weirdly like believe in the like theoretical physics of the folds and like that it could happen because it just kind of makes sense with gravity and just I don't know, really beyond my thinking, but awesome.
All right, and I'm going to ask you just one more question, and then
Love
like
questions.
we'll have to have you back on to do like another episode further down the line.
Yeah.
Maybe next time you come. Maybe next time you come down here, like we can
Yeah, I
just
would love
do it
it
in person.
I love
would-
talking about this stuff. It's
Yeah, that'd be
good
great.
for me.
Well, I mean, next time, like we can even sit in the new like room over there with the trapeze desk.
Yeah.
That we have over there, and you can
Sick.
even mess with all the gear that's going to be in it.
Yeah, I'll show how to use that stuff, man.
So I love it when you do that voice. I'm sorry.
I don't know where that
It's so
voice
good.
came from, but I definitely use it a lot. I have like 3 voices. I have like this surf dude I use. I have this dumb like country voice, like, "Hey man, yeah, fuck, yep,
Oh,
tonight's the night." But
all right, fine. Well, all right, then we're definitely gonna. I want you to do the country voice for this answer.
oh shit,
All right. So,
All
and I'll ask. I can ask it to you in a country voice too, if you want me to.
you might have
So-
to say it normal because I usually can't tell what the country voice even sounds
Are
like.
you sure? Because right here, this is how you do it. You make it so your lips
Ah,
don't
pretty good.
touch. So,
Pretty good. Yep.
so what is the most convincing conspiracy theory that you think that you can get behind?
Well, I can't use the country voice for this, but I'm not really a conspiracy guy, but I think it's funny that the conspiracy people don't believe in this one really anymore. But JFK, like,
Oh, really?
I don't think conspiracy people get it behind it now because they've like just switched because of like government and like how they feel about it all.
Oh, yeah.
But that's the one that I'm like, yeah.
That's one of the most obvious ones. It
Yeah.
seems like, yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah.
Well, clearly,
You know, if you're denying that, what's the deal?
there was a conspiracy from someone to,
Yeah.
assassinate the president. You know,
Yeah, they
Yeah, regardless of who did it, even
Yeah.
like, I don't know.
Now-
But the grassy knoll stuff. But
Well,
I don't know. I used to really get into the conspiracy thing and like listen to Coast to Coast, and it just got like, you remember Coast to Coast?
yeah. On AM radio?
Yeah. We did that stuff on tour and it was really fun, but some of it just got really stupid. But some of it is really convincing. So
Well, I mean, there is a lot of conspiracy theories out there that are really stupid, like birds aren't real and they're all government drones.
that one cracks me up. I'm like, yeah, totally. Yep, my whole yard, all 5,000 birds today.
All these fucking crows, man.
Somebody has the time to make them, and they don't need batteries.
the resurgence of flat
Oh,
Earth.
no. They don't need batteries because they land on the power lines to charge. That's the...
This isn't a conspiracy theory, but this might be a little more ghosty. I know for the longest time, I was really kind of stoked about the shadow people thing.
Oh, dude, shadow people rule.
And
Sorry.
when I lived in St. Augustine, Florida, there's this cigar bar there called Stogie's. Do you guys know about it?
Oh, I know Stogies.
Yeah, familiar.
So do you realize it's one of the oldest buildings in like all of the South, or maybe in the country? But I kid you not, one time I walked in and to get like a beer and a cigar, what'd you do there? And I'm like, this is a guy in the humidor. They're like, what? And then I was like, what the guy? And then he was gone. And they were like, what do you look like? I was like, kind of the weird hat on. And everything. They're like, oh, you saw blah, blah. I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, yeah, it's probably our friendly ghost. And they just passed it off like it was no big deal. But I definitely walked in and saw something in the humidor with like a top hat. There was like a shadow person. And then I was just like, who's that? And then he was gone. So not a conspiracy, but ghosts, are they real?
Makes sense being up there. St. Augustine definitely, very old town.
There's some great stories about the fort too and the soldier that people swear they've encountered the soldier at the gate.
Oh, I don't think
at the fort.
I don't think
So at night you can walk around the fort and do things, and there are people who are always like, and like sneaking up to the door. And apparently, like some people, have a tough time at the gate. And then there's the little boy at the cemetery. They say you can see his feet when you drive under the tree. He's always sitting on the tree, and it's like a very haunted city, apparently.
Yeah, we've gone on the ghost tours.
I did the ghost tour as well there. Yeah.
It was really good years ago before it became so popular up there.
Yeah.
I lived there in like 2002.
Well, what is it? Like my wife and I, we went and did the walking ghost tour. Mm-hmm. And like it was a Groupon. We were just like $15 a person, let's go.
Probably fun.
So the guy was sitting there, like we met him by the river or the ocean, the intercoastal, and he was like, all right, we got to wait for another couple because and then the other couple didn't show up, so he was like, all right, I guess it's just us, and we just had like a personal like ghost tour with this guy, and he was, just pointing out everything. He was like, yeah, up there, a lot of people died, and then and then we go to one area.
So much gnarly stuff happened there with the Spanish, but then in the civil rights movement, it was really gnarly there. Yeah. But do you know about the ballroom at Flagler College that's blocked off? Do you guys know about this?
No.
So Henry Flagler, I'm just full of knowledge. I think his name was Henry Flagler.
You should do the ghost tours if this production thing falls through.
Yeah, I can do these ghost tours. It sounds exciting. I probably won't get the story right, but I do know that Henry Flagler's wife died, and she loved to dance or something. And since her death, it like was in his will or whatever. Will. He blocked off the ballroom. It's still to this day blocked off. Huh. Like custodians and stuff will go in there and check stuff, but like we've heard about students who have snuck around and snuck in, and they got expelled. Like it's like a thing. Huh. And the room is still blocked off to this day, I think. And it's literally when you go up to the front of Flagler, it's the thing you see. Like you can't see in it or anything. And, there's just so much of that kind of crap in St. Augustine. Like, you guys got to go up there. Got to get into the ballroom. Take one of those microphones, record sounds.
Oh, I will. Apogee gave us some, they loaned us. Like the hype mic and stuff. Maybe I'll go up there and see if I could just set it up and just be like, all right, come on, start singing.
It's pretty cool though. There's a lot of really cool stories, and it's a cool town. So anyway.
No, yeah, I'm like all about that stuff. The ghost tour guy, when he was taking us, like he was like, you guys can go inside this building right here, and I was like, okay, and he goes, I'm not going in, and I was
probably
like,
the old hospital. I know it's the most haunted place in all of the South.
Yeah,
it's the old military hospital.
Yeah,
oh, man.
Yeah, that was, yeah. And he just told me, he was just like, no. He's like, I'm not.
There's so many stories about people going in there and like the benches you sit on, just literally moving across the room while they're in there. And
yep, yeah.
Which I think is kind of humorous that like the ghosts like would never leave and they're gonna move a chair. I don't know, like I feel like a military ghost would be like, let's kill him. I've had it. This is our place. Get him.
Oh man.
But
well, what is it, Jeremy? We don't want to take up too much of your time. We think we've already taken up a lot of it, and
super fun. I love talking to anytime.
Oh no. But yeah, we'll have to get you back on. Like I said, like when you get there, maybe we can meet up in St. Augustine, and we'll go do a podcast.
Let's do a ghost
tour
one at the fort.
From the military hospital.
From the military hospital.
Just bring some of your crazy gear and just mics everywhere. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like
Kind of sick.
Like none of it's plugged in, but the tubes are glowing. You're like, what the
Ooh,
fuck?
I love that. Ooh. Let's do that. Ooh, please.
That's actually a great idea.
Yeah, why not? I think that'd be a series. AudioScape.
No, but thanks for having me. I love talking about this stuff, guys. So.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. And yeah, next time, yeah, we'll definitely do more. I mean, you said you've watched some of the episodes. So can you do our famous sign off?
I can't go.
That was perfect. Well, thank you, Jeremy.
Oh, thanks for having me. Thanks for the great stuff. Thanks for all you guys do for me.
And we've been the Sonic Truth, and I'm Trevor Sosterich.
I'm Chris.
That was Jeremy, and we will see you next time. Peace.
Peace.